You can notice here I've gone back and I've changed the angle and distance so that these cuts are nice in the other part. Our next step is to separate these two parts. To do that, I'm first going to do a cross section using the right plane. So I'm going to select the right plane, select section view, and that will work. And what I want to do this time is create a swept surface. The profile for the sweep I'm going to create here, and the path will be one of these profiles here. So first, I'm going to select the right plane. I'm going to tell I want to sketch in it. And I want a line where this surface and this bottom surface meets my sketch plane. To do that, I'm going to select the down arrow below Convert Entities and tell I want an intersection curve. I want to create an entity where this surface and this surface intersect this plane. So I'll say OK. I'll close this. And here I have my two lines. I'm going to select them and I'm going to make them construction geometry. I'm just going to reorient this a little bit so it's a bit easier to see the sketch. And now I want to sketch a profile through this part that will work to cut it. The other thing I want to do is remove this line here that was converted as well. So I'll select it and delete it. So next I'm going to use my mouse gesture and I'm going to activate the line drawing tool. And I do want the relationship with this point. I want to go through this point. I'm going to move off and back on to switch to an arc. I'm going to create an arc. And then I'm going to come off over here. I'm going to push escape to exit that. So I'm going to play with this. I'm going to move it around and I want to think about, well, this is for 3D printing. I don't want that on there. I'm going to now add a center line. So from here to here, I'm going to add my center line, escape to stop that, and I'm going to make this converted edge, and this center line all parallel. Next I want to add some dimensions, so again I'll use mouse gestures, and I want to think about the capabilities of my 3D printer. I'm going to try making this 20 thou. That's kind of pushing the limits, but I don't have a lot of room. So I'm going to push escape to stop that. So you notice I have this line coincident with this point. The next thing I want to do, I want to make sure both these lines are tangent, and they are. Now that I have my sketch fully defined, and there's my profile that I'm going to try cutting with. Again, there will likely be tweaks needed. We'll see how it looks over here. So I'm going to exit this sketch, and I'm going to exit the cross section. Now I've created a profile for the swept surface. I want to create a path. To do that, I'm just going to sketch in this surface. I'm going to select the face, create a sketch, and again, I'm going to use the intersection curve. I'll rotate around and move my part a bit. I'm going to tell it where this contour intersects the plane to create the intersection curve. So I've selected those four faces. I'll say OK. I'll close this, go back to the isometric view, and zoom back in, rotate around a bit. So here's the path, and here's the profile. I'll exit this sketch, and then I'll tell it, let's create a swept surface. So once again, the profile to sweep is this, and this is the path to follow, and I'll right click to accept it. So now I want to have a look. That's going to cut my model in two, and I may or may not have a few problems. As we can see here, there's a gap. This needs to be contained within this part for this to work. So what it means, I have to go back and I have to edit that sketch. So that's fine. I'm going to expand this. Okay, here's my sketch. So I'm going to tell it I want to edit the sketch and it'll update. Just going to look normal to the sketch. Then I'll zoom in again on it. And I need this closer. To make it easier to see, I'm going to go back to the section view. Say OK. And this whole thing needs to shift this way a bit. So I want to look at what's keeping it there. Just want to zoom around a bit and get a nicer position to look at. What I need to determine is the sketch is fully defined, so what will allow me to pull it this way? I'm going to try deleting this 30 thou dimension, and now I see I can move it around, but I want to be careful. I'm not overly happy, but what I'm going to try now is I'm going to take this point here and I'll make it coincident with this converted edge. So I'm going to say OK. I'm going to leave it in the section view because this will allow me to see the surface. So here I can see the surface inside my part. And let's see how this cuts. I'm going to leave it in the section view, and I'm going to say cut with the surface. I'm not too worried about which way the arrows point, because as we did before, I'm going to need to save it twice and flip the arrows in between. So I'll say OK. And I'll hide that surface. So here's what we have. And it's not bad. It might need a bit more tweaking, but it's doable. I'm a little concerned with how thin this will be, so I may want to thicken this part up for this style of designing my part. But what I really want to do is I'll accept this for now. I'm more interested in the other part. In the next video, we'll examine the other part and how to finish it.